Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Alvy Macias, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a little bit more of a kind of just my own personal experience with transferring to the University of Oregon. Hopefully, if you are watching this video, you are potentially considering or are getting ready to transfer to the University of Oregon from a junior college or a community college. Hopefully help you as you go through your transition. So with that said, let's jump into it. So as sort of a quick reference, I have really 6 topics that I want to go over, and I'll have chapters down below. So if you want to jump around to any one particular topic that's really important to you, but I would highly recommend you watch this video all the way through because I'm going to go in the sequence that was the most important for me when transferring to the UofO. So with that, first and foremost is transcripts. When it came to transferring from community college to the University of Oregon, I was coming from California as a community college graduate, and I was transferring to the University of Oregon. One of the most important things that I think every single community college transfer student needs to make sure that they reference and check and double check and triple check are transfer credits that are going to be accepted from your community college. What is often not talked about when it comes to transferring credits is whether or not your community college transcripts or community college credits are going to be accepted by the school you're transferring to. When it comes to if you're going from a school within the same state, so if I was to go to a CSU or a UC, there's a pretty easy equivalency matrix. There's a lot of tools for students to be able to figure this out. But when it comes to going from California to an out-of-state school, it gets a little fuzzy. I would highly recommend that if you are thinking about transferring out of state, talk to the school that you are going to and make sure you get enough information to figure out if in fact your credits at the community college level are going to transfer in, and if so, are they complete transfers or are they partial transfers? What I mean by this is that some schools will only accept, let's say you took a 4-credit class in English, the receiving school or the school that you're transferring to may only view that as a 2-credit class, and so now you're short 2 credits. So those are things that are vital for community college transfer students to have open dialogues about with admissions reps or transfer officers, anyone that is in those titles at the school you're going to make sure you know exactly where you stand as a sophomore or a junior at your new school. So the second talking point on this is going to be related to number 1, and that is out-of-state tuition. Again, because I came from California and I was going to Oregon, I was considered an out-of-state student, and I was going to start paying out-of-state tuition immediately the first year I moved to Eugene. For many students, this is an unexpected hurdle because out-of-state tuition is vastly more expensive than in-state tuition, and that's pretty universal across all 50 states, across really any school in the country. Generally speaking, in-state tuition is going to be less expensive than out-of-state tuition if you from the high school that you graduated from. Makes sense, right? It is vital that you understand exactly how expensive your out-of-state tuition is going to be when you transfer to your new school. And personally, I got a rude awakening when I found out how expensive my out-of-state tuition was going to cost. For you, I would recommend talking to the financial aid office. Make the financial aid office your best friends and someone that you can go to regularly. There is a process for out-of-state students to get in-state tuition, particularly for transfer students. It's available for true freshmen, but it's a lot more difficult. It's a lot easier for out-of-state transfer students to get residency. That's a whole separate video, that's a whole separate topic. I'll actually leave a link right up here to a video I made about how to get in-state tuition at the University of Oregon if you're interested. For the vast majority of transfer students coming from outside of the state of Oregon, you will have to pay out-of-state tuition for 1 year, and that is something that is very difficult to overcome, so just be aware of it. So point number 3 is orientation. What a lot of students do not understand as transfer students, the orientations are completely different than true freshmen. The true freshman students, I would suggest, is more of the traditional, kind of like rolling out the red carpet, if you will, by the university. There's tons of activities, there's tons of things planned for true freshmen, high school students. Those are more of the traditional, like stuff you might see in movies and TV shows type of orientation. When it comes to transfer students, and at least this was my experience, kind of like business type of conversation. So it's pretty much a lot of the conversation for transfer students at orientation is about transfer credits, kind of what to expect on your first day, any other small little minute details. It is nowhere near as much activity as the true freshman orientation. And I think this is done on purpose for a couple different reasons. One is you're not exactly high school students, so you've already gone to college. The expectation is that you kind of know what you're doing. And two, a lot of transfer students, myself included, are not in that 18 to 20-year-old range. You might be 21, 22. Heck, I was 24 when I transferred to the University of Oregon. So the expectation is that you're kind of you figured things out on your own, and you're more of just like, hey, give me the information and let's move on. What I would implore you to figure out is, are you someone who wants that kind of walk around campus, get to meet new people type of vibe on your orientation, during your orientation? Or are you someone who just wants, give me what I need to know, I can figure this stuff out on my own, thanks very much? If that is the case, if that is you're the latter, then just attend the transfer orientation and you'll be fine. What I did to get the whole experience, because I didn't know anyone at the University of Oregon and I was new to the area, I went to the freshman orientation by myself, and I just kind of met a couple people. I wasn't big on introducing myself or getting to know a ton of people, so there wasn't exactly an expectation of I was going to be best friends with these people. It did serve as great information because I was able to learn more about the campus, the resources, where I can go to get certain things done, printing, a couple of the other diversity clubs that I could be a part of and take advantage of. So all that information was great, but just understand, transfers orientation, transfer students orientation, and then true freshman orientation are two completely different animals. So point number 4, probably the most asked question I ever get about the University of Oregon and transfer students is housing. As of 2021, there is a live-on requirement for true freshmen coming out of high school. What this means is that as a true freshman, you are obligated. It's not an ask, it's not a we'd like you to. You are obligated as a true freshman to live in the dorms for your first year at the University of Oregon. As a transfer student coming in as either a sophomore or a junior, you do not have that same live-on requirement. You can choose to live in the dorms if you want, given the fact that dorms are a little bit more expensive than just renting a room in some of the other complexes near and around campus. It would be more beneficial, I think, to live outside of the dorms as a transfer student. Let me give everything a big disclaimer. This is just my experience. Your experiences may be different, but I'm just sharing my story with you so you can make an informed decision. What I did was I booked a room in a 4-bedroom, 4-bath apartment, essentially. And I had my own bedroom and my own bathroom, and I just met random people. I had what they call random roommates. Was I best friends with these people? No. Did I put up with them? Yes. Were they the best individuals that I could have met on campus? Maybe not. There was probably better people. I was only paying $600 a month, and for someone who was paying my own way through school from the jump, price was probably the most important factor for me, as opposed to having, the ability to meet new people, living in the dorms, the cafeteria, all that stuff was not important to me. What was the most important to me was how much I was going to have to pay each month. Make sure you do your own research as to where you might want to live near campus, because there's tons of options. Trust me, there are tons of options when it comes to apartments. So the 5th topic, tying back into housing, are friendships. Yes, as a transfer student at the University of Oregon, and really any school that you transfer to, you feel like a bit of an outcast for the reason that a lot of these students met each other in the dorms as 18-year-olds, and so there's a lot of opportunity for them to meet and mingle. Some students perhaps are coming from the same high school, so they know each other that way. Some students are coming from the same city, so maybe that's a talking point for them to know each other. As a transfer student, you feel at times like an outcast. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to the school or anything along those lines. It's just a matter of fact. You oftentimes feel like a bit of an outcast because you're a transfer student, you're sometimes older than some of the other students. You have to sort of go out of your way to meet new people. One of the things that I see a lot is students feel this pressure or obligation to have 500 new friends before the first month of school is over. I don't really understand that pressure. I never felt that pressure. The easiest way that I've seen students get to know each other and make good friendships, and this was the case for me, is just through classes. Going to class, talking to my neighbor, asking for notes here and again, asking if they wanted to go study together for a big quiz. You kind of create these friendships or these, platonic friendships pretty naturally, so you don't have to have any pressure about getting friends the first day you move to your new city or school. Just let things happen. Let friendships develop over time, and by simply extending a hand to someone by saying, "Can you take notes for me this day that I'm planning on being out of class?" That's something it's that simple. That's really all it takes. Don't feel this intense amount of pressure to have 1,000 friends by the end of your first year in school. That's not necessary. And to be honest with you all, I would say, rough number here, probably 50 to 70% of the people you meet in college are going to be just acquaintances. Maybe a handful, maybe a couple people here and there are going to be true lifelong friends. I don't really see that happen all that often. It's more so people just become acquaintances and, oh yeah, I remember them from that one class that one time. Okay, and last but certainly not least are jobs and internship expectations and opportunities. As a transfer student, you have 2 years to get stuff figured out as opposed to true freshmen who have 4. You're already 2 years sort of behind the curve, if you will. The expectation is that you've taken 2 years at the community college and maybe you figured out what you want to study. When you jump into your junior year at your transferred school, you really have to start to hit the ground running. Jobs, internships, other opportunities that are going to look good on your resume. When I was going through my experiences as my junior and senior year were coming to a close, I felt really behind simply because I would talk to students who are technically in my same grade, but for the past 2 summers, they had internships at a company that they really liked. To me, I felt as though I was behind because I didn't have those internships or externships or whatever you want to call them. That was sort of a big factor for me for wanting to try to get those experiences outside of the classroom. And mind you, I held no grudge in any way, shape, or form to those people. I had to work. My extracurricular activity was me going to work and paying for my own way through school. So yes, I would have loved to have taken a non-paid internship. I just was not in that position because I had bills to pay, I had rent, I had all these other commitments that I needed to fulfill. Just understand that if you are a transfer student who is trying to pay your own way through school, don't get discouraged when people talk about a summer internship or going abroad or anything along those lines. Having an internship is not in any way, shape, or form going to dictate whether or not you get into a Fortune 500 company or a Fortune 500 CEO level job. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching today's video. I want this to be more of a conversation. If you have any questions about transferring, going to community college, the University of Oregon, please put them down in the comments below. I will respond to any and every single comment as quickly as I can. If you are interested in learning more about some of the pros and cons of the University of Oregon, I'll leave a link to a video I did about that topic right up here. Remember to subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful. That will allow this video to go in front of other transfer students who could also find this information helpful. Thank you again so much. I will see you next week with another video. Bye.